Okay. You guys can hear me now.
There you go.
We're just gonna do that.
There you go.
We're just gonna do that. Technical difficulties, but hey, you know what? We're back here. I'm Sports Time HQ. I'm Fernando, your host. Joined with me, my great co-host Keith and Gary. Oh my goodness, technology just does not want to work today.
Bad day for you, Fernando. Hopefully it gets better.
Hopefully it gets better. I mean, I don't even think I'm using my mic right now. I think I'm using the computer right now to listen to the audio.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that beginning was. You sounded like some type of rodent.
There was a chipmunk in my ear, anyways.
Yeah.
Well, I guess you know, you can never have it all perfect, right? We've had how many shows, Gary, Keith? I mean, before Gary, every show went perfect for the most part.
Yeah. And now, so what are you trying to say? You're blaming Gary now because Gary's here that hasn't gone?
Yeah, I'm blaming Gary now.
Years.
Oh my goodness. Okay, well, we're here. Time to talk some news and notes. But first, Keith, how are you? I mean, we didn't have you last week. How are you doing?
I'm good. Yeah, sorry I missed the show. Work got stuck
Unacceptable.
There. Pain in the butt, but I'm good. Glad to be back on. Yeah, good to be back on talking football with you guys. Hopefully I won't be missing too many more.
Gary, how about you? How you doing?
I think I'm doing better than you right now. I'll just say that. No, I'm doing good today. Could be a little better.
You're looking at the placement, the placement of that plaque right there.
Yeah,
you thought about it.
Yeah, I do. Me and Fernando, if you guys didn't know, were
second place.
Cornhole tournament yesterday. Second place. Not what we wanted, but we'll take it. You know.
Got to get that W next time. Got to get the first place. Who guessing that Fernando was letting the side down? I'm guessing.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's tough to keep up with the cornhole champ.
Oh, nice! That's cool. You got a belt and everything.
Yeah, so it happens, but yeah, I mean, a little more
Fernando, extra practice, bud. Come on.
I know. I'm gonna have to do some extra practice. I can't keep up with Gary. He just threw some randomly up in the air and just sunk right in the hole, and I was like, this guy, unbelievable.
That I did.
But let's get into some news and notes around the league. There's been a lot of news and notes that have been coming around over the past week. First off, some non-important news. Carson Wentz goes to Kansas City. Guys, we're excited, right? Carson Wentz. He's going to be the next Patrick Mahomes. He's going to stay in Patrick Mahomes' era, you know, be the next Patrick Mahomes.
Clearly the Chiefs want to move on.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Clearly. But he finds a home in Kansas City. He wants to go to a winning culture. And who knows, if they're going for the 3P and they end up working it out, he might get a ring. Right. Well, he did get a ring with Nick Foles, but he wasn't really the starter. So
it'll be the same situation, so.
Yeah, same situation. Get 2 rings for doing nothing.
Very much.
Kyle Van Noy, he signs a 2-year, $9 million back with the Ravens. That's to boost their great defense that they had last season to go into this season now. They'll have more defensive players on that team. And then Eagles offensive tackle Jordan Mailata signs a 3-year, $66 million extension after losing Kelsey. I think this one's a big extension for them, and that really helps their offensive line.
Yep, it's a good move. I mean, it's an obvious move. You're going to keep one of your best players. Yeah, good move going forward for them.
Yep, he's always been solid, so that was a good keep for them.
And I think lastly, for notes, the Washington quarterback Marcus Mariota, you know, he's a big name, guys. Make sure you know about him. He's to wear number 0, the first quarterback NFL player to wear the number 0. Yeah, I just wanted to mention
probably
that. He'd be the first.
Same number of touchdowns he'll throw, so might as well.
Wow, it's a shout, Gary. That's a shout, Keith. Keith, do you have some hate against Marcus Mariota?
No, just thought it was kind of apt. That's all.
Oh man, yeah, I expect him to not throw any. I mean, we'll see what happens. And then Gary, Browns quarterback Deshaun Watson, he says he's confident that he'll be ready for week 1. Do you think he's actually gonna be confident, Gary? Do you think he's actually starting week 1?
Yeah, I mean, I think he can. It'll probably come down to, you know, he's a game time decision, and we'll have to see what he thinks and how he feels through pregame routine. But I just hope that he can, you know, be able to work on that over the offseason and not get injured any further. That's the last thing that we need right now, especially for any of those players really that were hurt last year. Hopefully he can get back on track and actually stay on the football field, and we'll see what he can do.
Yeah. Keith, are you buying into Deshaun Watson fantasy stock?
I bought into him last year thinking, especially in like Superflex, people were kind of like, I wouldn't say they're out, but he was going lower. So I bought into him then. It did not work out well. So I won't be making that mistake twice. I'll need to see him prove it and get back to somewhere near his Texans form, before I go back in on fantasy again.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on that. I mean, I think 2 years ago, even before he was cleared to come back, I just traded him away. I just wanted nothing to do with him. I mean, but you talked to me before the whole thing happened. I was like what I am with CJ Stroud. Like, I love Deshaun Watson, but we haven't seen much of him, Gary, to really say that he's going to be back to his true self.
Yeah, I completely agree and completely understandable. So I have no problem with that.
The big thing there was we were all talking about Flacco come the end of the season, and it was nothing about Deshaun Watson. It was all trying to keep Flacco then into the offseason. So that kind of shows where I think Deshaun Watson is, and he's kind of got to prove it now.
Yeah, and I think that possibly could have been a catalyst for why, not the entire reason, but just a small one for why the Browns maybe didn't bring back Joe Flacco. It's the fact that they want Watson to feel secure in the sense that this is his job, this is his team, this is his offense. And even with all, the Cleveland fan base loved Joe Flacco, and rightfully so, I did. But at the end of the day, this is Deshaun Watson's team. We paid him a boatload of money, and we're going to need him to be at whatever his best is, his best moving forward.
I agree to that. Some more exciting news. The Kansas City Royals and the Kansas City Chiefs voters voted against stadium tax money to fund a new ballpark and stadium. Guys, is Kansas City on the move?
I mean, you think it's a possibility in the future. I think that would be a major disadvantage, even having to move out of there. That stadium, the noise it creates. I get they have a really good team, a really good quarterback, but I think that makes a big difference as well. Nobody wants to go play there. It's a tough place to go, to a place to get a win. So if they do in the near future have to move out of there, I think that really hits Kansas City. So I don't think the team would be too happy with that.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I was talking to you, Fernando, about it last night. I was surprised to read that. I get you don't want to pay taxes, but at the end of the day, you got a team that's winning football games. I mean, they got a chance of three-peating. They won 3 in 5 years. They're a good team, and like you said, no one wants to go there, whether it's the regular season or playoffs, especially in playoffs. And even, we're talking football, but even with the Royals, they're a young up-and-coming team that a lot of people think are going to take a step forward. I think it's baffling, to be completely honest with you, that the people would vote against keeping these teams here. Yeah, that's just my stance on the topic.
Yeah, I mean, I agree to you guys' point. I mean, why are you – I agree maybe taxpayer – I mean, Keith, you pay taxpayer money, right? I mean, I know Gary and I do, but you pay more. Say the Blue Jays. Say the Blue Jays, and I don't know. Give me another NHL team.
The Blue Jays one is a contra. We'll keep going with it because they want to move the Blue Jays somewhere else.
Yeah, but say for instance you had a fan base and everything like the Kansas City Royals, like the Kansas City Chiefs in your area. Would you vote to approve it? I think I would. I would want to see my team stay there. I'd want my team to stay there, pay some extra money. But I mean,
if you're talking about, say, the Astros in baseball, and you're talking about, I don't know, some like the Bears, but I suppose they're going to be better now, but like a really bad team, what I mean? And this happens, then you've got more questions to go, okay, yeah, well, I can see why they moved them out. They sucked for so many years.
Right.
There's no way forward. Like, you're just kind of throwing money away if you agree to this. I get it on that stance. But in this stage, like you said about the Royals They're up and coming, young baseball team. The Chiefs have it all for as many years as they kind of want to have it. You know what I mean? Especially with Mahomes there. So it makes no sense to just be like, yeah, we'll get them out of our city. Like, I don't get it.
Right.
Yeah, I'm just really surprised to see them, because now this leaves it wide open for the ownership and whether or not they want to move. Because I'm sure there's a lot of other big markets that want teams, and to have a team like the Kansas City Chiefs, who are basically a dynasty now. I mean, that's a dynasty team. You move into a new city, and boom, your city is booming now with the economy, and Kansas City just goes down the drain.
Yeah, I think from like an NFL standpoint, they're not exactly going to love it either. They want to expand, like new teams, new locations, all that. Moving a current team like they do, the Rams, Chargers, all that, like somewhere else doesn't do anything for expanding the NFL. Like, okay, maybe in that area it does, but for the whole league as of one, you don't. You still have the same number of teams. You just moved one and put them somewhere else. So the NFL is all about growing and want to get more teams into the league. This is not one way of doing it.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
I agree.
No.
Yeah.
I was in my class today, economics of sport class, ironically, and we ended up talking about this. And did you guys know that 40% of ticket sales they get distributed to all 32 teams? But something I did not know is that all luxury suite tickets are 100% protected, and it goes to the ownership or to the stadium.
Yeah.
So if you're looking at
go ahead, sorry.
No, I was gonna say if you look at like SoFi Stadium or some newer stadiums, you see a lot more luxury suites because of the fact that the ownership, they want to build more luxury suites to be able to retain more money, and not to mention also to keep the the nosebleed sections prices way down, because now they're keeping a lot more money.
Yeah, I noticed the first I went to the Bengals game, and when I was buying my tickets, the tax was on it, and it was the exact same price as my 2 tickets. And basically, I pay for an extra 2 tickets for nobody, and it says if you read the fine print, the money goes straight back in to the ownership to work on the facilities and build if they need to build or make renovations to the stadium. But sometimes, like depending on the price of your tickets, the equivalent of tax can be the exact same price as your ticket. Like, it's crazy. Like, I get paying the tax, but not like if your tickets, you're paying $400 for 2 tickets and they're looking for $400 in tax. I mean, you're paying $800 like technically for 2 more tickets that you're not going to see. I get, like, people will probably do it because they're like, oh yeah, it's going back into my team, but that kind of money is crazy.
Yeah, that's it. I would agree with that. I've rarely actually go out to see games like that, just due to the fact that I'm a Cleveland fan, and it's not often that my teams come down here. But I wouldn't pay that in the slightest. I think tax is good for going back into the team, but like you said, 400 is ridiculous. If you're paying 400 for the tickets, it's exactly what you said, double what you should be paying. Again, I'm all for my money going back into my team, but when it's that kind of money, that's just crazy.
Crazy money. I mean, I think in my lifetime I've only been to 2 Patriots games. Keith, I know you go like every year, right?
No, I've tried to. Since I came over here, I've been down to Detroit, been to Buffalo, and obviously been to Cincinnati. I try to go, like, obviously COVID was in between that, but like I do try and go. But it all depends what stadium you go to and who's paying. It wasn't, even though like the Bengals were good, ticket prices weren't actually that bad for the Bengals, which is pretty good. But like you try and go over to Green Bay or Seattle or something like that, and the Bengals are better than them. You pay way more money for their tickets, and then you have that luxury tax on top of it, which is nuts.
Yeah, what is it, Gary? Average ticket for like a ticket in nosebleed sections in New England is what, like $50, $60?
Yeah, the only game that I went to at Gillette was when the Browns came in, and I got a relatively good seat. I was about halfway up, and I paid, I believe, like $130 for that seat, maybe. So, like I said, I was about halfway up, so I was fine with paying that price. But Yeah, I would probably say a seat in the nosebleed is probably $50-$60 maybe.
Yeah, I know someone who went to Buffalo every single year, and before Josh Allen when they were horrendous. And I mean, they got front row seats at the 50-yard line, and they paid less than $100, I think.
Wow.
This was maybe like 7-8 years ago. I mean, it was really cheap, really really cheap.
Yeah.
Now with Josh Allen and everything, it's now through the roof. But yeah, absolutely crazy. Last breaking news. This happened yesterday. I think I was pretty much surprised. I didn't think this guy was going to be traded to this specific team, but Stephon Diggs gets traded to the Houston Texans for a 2025 second round pick, which was the Minnesota pick. 2024 sixth and 2025 fifth also gets traded from Buffalo to Houston. Is Houston now their starting lineup? I mean, they have Tank Dell, Nico Collins, Stephon Diggs, Joe Mixon, CJ Stroud, Dalton Schultz. This team is really good. This team is my Super Bowl favorites to win it.
It is really good. I agree, but Stephon Diggs can't be doing what Stephon Diggs does on the sideline. That's the problem here. I mean, I like the player, but he can't try and go in and blow it up. I've seen like some comments saying like he was a cancer in the Bills locker room and all this stuff. I mean, we've seen the pictures, on the sidelines. He can't do that with a young team. He needs to be a leader on that team, because if he does that with a young team, the young team will just fold in front of him. You know what I mean? And that's a serious issue. And yeah, you might have all this talent on paper, but I mean, if you don't have strong leaders in that locker room, they ain't gonna win nothing. So hopefully he can change his ways a little bit and see himself as a leader and go out there and not be crying when, Nico Collins gets 7 targets and he only gets 4. Like, that's going to happen. You know what I mean? They're going to be them weeks. But I do think it's definitely a good bit of business from the Texans.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that's what that's the only force from stopping the Texans going as far as people really think that they can is Diggs going to be the prominent leader that they need him to be, or is he just going to, do what we've seen him do in Buffalo and break down and, be that cancer in the locker room. But I agree with you, Freddie. I think that they have a great shot to go to the Super Bowl as early as next season. And what I think that we're going to see from the Texans is I don't think they're done making moves, because what I just saw today is that they wiped out the last, 2 or 3 remaining years.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
On Diggs' contract. So I think that is something that says they're going all in for this exact year. I wouldn't be surprised if they're not done making moves. So I can't wait to see it, because I love what the Texans are doing. They beat my Browns, but I love CJ Stroud. So
hey, he's now available to be a free agent after this offseason. That was the contract agreement. So that's huge, in my opinion. That's huge for the Texans, because now if Stephon Diggs just doesn't produce the way they want, they can let him walk. And who knows, maybe the Bills go get him next year. But overall, my bigger question is, do you think Stephon Diggs is turning into Antonio Brown type of thing?
Quite possibly. I mean, it's like the whole shouting in the face of Allen and all that stuff last year. Like, you couldn't ask for a better quarterback. He does everything more or less for that team, and you're shouting at him. I get you're going to CJ Stroud, who's going to be great and young and stuff. You know what I mean? More years ahead of him, but Diggs doesn't have them years ahead of him. So, I mean, there's a very big chance. I mean, everybody goes on about Antonio Brown and CTE. Who knows if Diggs has that? I don't know. We'll never find out. But he needs to keep his head one way or the other. And if they do, I think they'll go far.
Yeah, I wouldn't go as far as to say that it could be that. We hear all these. I mean, and this could just be a smokescreen, but we hear all these people say how good of a guy Diggs is, and I can't really recall a lot of people saying that about Antonio Brown. Diggs is a guy who shows emotion on the field like a lot of people, but I don't really think he's this guy that is going to be like that every game, or, he's going to destroy his teammates every single game, whatever. I've seen multiple times where he has done that in Buffalo, like you had mentioned, but I think that maybe he just needs a new environment. I don't know. I think that this is going to be really good for Diggs. I don't think it's going to be a problem. It could be, but I don't think it's going to be. We'll have to see, because I think it's going to be really fun if they can stick together.
hey, he's going to be going into warmer weather. Maybe that'll help him be more relaxed.
Maybe.
Right.
But let's get into the main part of this show, the top 10 rookie quarterbacks and rookie running backs. Starting off with the quarterbacks, Caleb Williams comes up at number 1 between all of us. Currently, we're going to go through the average of what we had and then also talk a little bit about the kind of the mixes and matches, because obviously we all don't have a consensus except for this one and a couple others. Caleb Williams, a consensus. I mean, he's been projected to go number 1 this whole entire season. Any thoughts on how good he'll be in fantasy, though? Keith, I know you and I were talking about it. That maybe, like I was saying personally, that I think the floor for Caleb Williams is like a Bryce Young, but the ceiling is like a CJ Stroud.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, when I look at a lot of these guys, I don't think they have. I think, and including Caleb Williams, I can see downsides to him. I can see the brilliance too. It's just what do we get out of him? I think he's right to be number 1. But whether it's all going to work out, like he's going to probably go to the Bears, and it looks like the Bears are loaded. But like it's been years since we've seen a good Bears team. You know what I mean? We thought the same with the Jets last year, and Aaron Rodgers goes down. They just kind of have these teams that just kind of, you can call them cursed, you can call them whatever you want. It just doesn't work out. But like, I hope it does. Let's see if we see a rejuvenated Bears team get that division going again. But I agree with the assessment. I think he could be anything up to a CJ Stroud, but he could just blow up completely in that offense and be a Bryce Young. Or maybe he just needs a year or 2 to develop. Who knows? Like a lot of these guys do. But I think he's rightfully the number 1 on our list.
Yeah. I don't know what his floor would be. I don't know if I can get myself to say that it would be a Bryce Young just due to the fact that the Bears look so good. I can completely understand someone has that mindset, but I just don't. I think that he's coming into the league with the best position that we've seen out of any rookie quarterback possibly ever. So I don't really know if there's room for him to be bad. He's also one of the best quarterback prospects that we've ever seen come to the game ever. So, just add 1 and 1. It doesn't always work out, but I think that if we're just looking at it this way, it should work out. And I mean, I don't know. I'm not a big Caleb Williams guy because I'm just not a big this year quarterback draft class guy. But I think that there's no possible way that you're going to be bad in this Bears offense the way it looks now. The only problem that I have in terms of fantasy is I don't think they're going to let him run a lot, at least for his first year. I think they're going to want to protect him as much as they can. But other than that, I think that he does have that CJ Stroud upside.
Yeah, I mean, Caleb Williams, obviously, we know that he's going to be the number 1 off the board, like I've already mentioned. And you saying that there is great masterpiece with Caleb Williams, one of the best prospects we might have ever seen. But again, you also mentioned how this quarterback draft class doesn't look as good as what we've seen in the past. And that's my concern in fantasy, for instance. I mean, I don't really know. I have a lot of picks in fantasy. I trade a lot in Dynasty for picks because you never know what we see in the guys in the upcoming season. I low-key don't even really want any of these like draft picks. I want to wait until next year, and maybe next year's class is gonna be even better because we're gonna go into running backs later. But it's been brutal out here trying to rank these guys.
Yeah, I agreed. I've got one for you guys because you probably know more of the college stuff than me, but when Trevor Lawrence was coming out, what do you compare him to like Caleb Williams now? Because Trevor was the guy, and I'd say he's made it to a degree, but he's definitely not hit the heights I don't think that people thought.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So are you asking
like Trevor Lawrence coming out compared to Caleb Williams? Like, do you think he'll be at that level coming into the NFL, Caleb Williams, or do you think he can do better than Trevor Lawrence like in the next couple of years?
I think that he can do better than Trevor Lawrence, at least how he started. But I also think that Caleb Williams has the ability to be better than Trevor Lawrence now. I mean, especially due to the fact that I think that at least this year, Trevor Lawrence wasn't what the Jags fan base thought. He wasn't what NFL fans thought that he would be. Who knows what he's going to do down the road, but I know for a fact that Trevor Lawrence was a huge, highly, talented and looked at prospect, and the same thing with Caleb Williams. So I completely understand your look on this, and yeah, I think that Caleb Williams has the talent, and like I said, has the position, assuming he goes to the Bears, around him to be better than Trevor Lawrence when he came in, and probably even now.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, I think Trevor Lawrence, I mean, we didn't see much of him first year. Second year, he did really good. Last year, he had some injuries that he battled. But I mean, he had a relatively good team. I think if I was going around having a decision whether I had to pick Trevor Lawrence or Caleb Williams, I think I'd choose Caleb Williams over Trevor Lawrence. I just don't think that class was as exhilarating. I thought Justin Fields was the best quarterback in that class. I think no one is really that good in that class. I think except for Brock Purdy, who is Mr. Irrelevant. So that just goes to show that we see a lot of these top guys, but these guys coming out of the college football, they haven't really looked as great as what we've seen in past drafts.
Yep, I agree. I mean, I didn't really get the Trevor Lawrence thing. I thought he was fine. I thought he looked like a good quarterback going out, but I was like, I didn't really get all the hype. So that's why I was just wondering the comparison.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Freddie.
No, go ahead. I'll go right after.
No, I was just gonna say, I watch a lot of college football in half a years, and Trevor Lawrence at Clemson was one of the best quarterbacks I've ever seen play. He was a slept-on dual-threat quarterback, but when he got to the league, I mean, we didn't really see exactly what we thought. And it happens with a lot of the guys, but I think, and I've said it multiple times so far, a lot of what happens or what goes into that is their actual position, like the team that they're on. I mean, we've seen it with, Mac Jones. We've seen it with Justin Fields. These guys don't really get put into the best position, and here we are today.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I do agree, and that goes to show what C.J. Stroud did. I mean, the Houston Texans, they brought in so much. Same thing what the Bears did. But, I mean, the Bears are going to be the Bears, so they're probably going to suck. But going to Brendan's comment, he said, I'd say the floor for Caleb Williams is probably comparable to Baker's rookie season and the ceiling to Herbert's rookie season. Quick take on Herbert. Do you think Herbert is like – I don't know if he's going to be as good right now because of the fact the wide receivers just aren't there anymore. And that's going to be a big problem because if Herbert doesn't do good this year, does Jim Harbaugh move from him?
My problem with Herbert is that I think he had didn't he have the record last year and the year before or something like that, or having the most losses within 7 points or something, like less than a touchdown. That was kind of my issue with him, that he's good. He had talent last year, but still managed to lose. Like, I get it, right? If a kicker comes over and misses a kick, I get it. But, in them crucial 2-minute drills, he just makes the wrong decisions or just can't get it done. I mean, I think that's going to go against them going forward. You can't lose by less than 7, consecutively. It was going on for a while last year without getting a win. So I think them things start to come into play.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Going into our second rookie quarterback, Jaden Daniels comes in as the average. Keith and I have him at 2. Gary, you have Jaden Daniels at 3. Clearly, you see something more at number 2 with your guy Drake May, who we'll talk about at number 3. But overall, I mean, Jaden Daniels, I think he is a lot better than Drake May. Again, these quarterbacks are not as good as what we've seen, and you can really put. It's kind of like, all right, you like Drake May, I like Jaden Daniels. That's kind of it. I mean, there's not really big argument between the two and big difference between the two besides the rushing ability. And I think Jaden Daniels has a better opportunity in the NFL, and I think he also has a better opportunity in fantasy because of his mobility. I
just literally, going off the 2, I went with the rushing upside over him. I like both, and I just know where the NFL is going right now, so I went with the rushing upside to put him at 2.
Yeah, the only thing that I have a problem with the Jaden Daniels is that people are box score watchers, and I think that if you really look at the LSU team, if you watch a lot of college ball, you've for sure seen multiple LSU games, and you know that their defense, at least this year, was abysmal. And Jane Daniels spent so much time on the field this year that his stats just had such a big opportunity to be inflated. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons why we saw him snag up the Heisman this year, because he was putting up numbers that other guys weren't. And, UNC wasn't great either, but I think that Drake May looks like the more NFL-ready quarterback. And I feel like we're seeing that a lot more with guys. In the past couple of drafts, are these guys better or are they more NFL-style ready quarterbacks? And I think that's a big reason why J.J. McCarthy is ranked so high for a lot of these analysts. I think
you're on mute. You're on mute, Fernando.
Ready?
That's on me. My microphone did not go down again. But yeah, I think Jaden Daniels is the better guy. I know, Gary, you don't have him as the better guy, and we'll kind of dive into your guy, into Drake May. I just don't know what you guys see in Drake May, because personally, I don't think he's as good as Mr. JJ McCarthy. I'm a big JJ McCarthy believer, guys. You guys have no faith in JJ McCarthy.
I don't say anything about JJ. It's up to Gary.
Because okay,
you don't exactly see him do much, though. I don't think that's what I took out from him in college. That's what I took out from it.
Exactly. I mean, I'm a Big Ten fan. I like Ohio State, so even though I hate Michigan as much as I do, I watch them all the time. What did we really see out of J.J. McCarthy besides deliver, for the most part, simple slants and comebacks to Roman Wilson and the occasional, 40-yard pass that most of the time was yak? I mean, it really wasn't a large sample size that we saw out of J.J. McCarthy, just due to the fact that he probably had the best running back duo in the entire nation, which is completely understandable. But I just don't think that, based off of what we've seen, we can say that J.J. McCarthy is better than Caleb Williams, Drake May, or Jaden Daniels. That's just my opinion. But you're entitled to your own.
Yeah, Fernando, what Gary said.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't see all the hype in Drake May. I think Jaden Daniels. There's thoughts about putting J.J. McCarthy above Jaden Daniels. There was a thought in my rankings.
That's not my reason.
I'm just watch. We're gonna look back at this video a year down the road, and we're gonna say that J.J. McCarthy was maybe, depending on where he lands, the best quarterback in this year's draft.
But you didn't do that. You had the opportunity to put him in as number 1 or number 2, but you didn't do that.
No, I didn't, because I think Caleb Williams is technically better than J.J. McCarthy.
Well, that's fine, but you could have put him in a 2, or you could have been.
No, but for fantasy value, Jaden Daniels outbeats him. That's right. Also.
So here's the thing. You keep saying you don't understand like all the hype around Drake May, whatever. Listen, I don't either. It's just the fact that I'm just picking, in my opinion, the better of the bottom of the barrel. I mean, I don't like any of these guys. I am still even iffy on Caleb, but like I said, he's one of the best quarterback prospects we've ever seen, and he's going into this easy, offense, and I think he's going to excel. But the guys that come after him, I don't like any of them. I don't think any of them are suitable to be, productive and good in the NFL. They might show flashes, but I don't really think anything is going to come out of any quarterback out of this draft class other than Caleb Williams.
Okay. I mean, that's fine. But are you in fantasy for Dynasty? Are you looking at any other quarterback besides Caleb Williams?
No, can't say I am.
Keith, no.
I'd probably avoid them all, to be honest. It's not. If you know, it's probably in some of the leagues are in. I got rid of all my picks last year to go and win and go all out. I don't mind. I'll skip this draft and go next year and be happy with the team I have.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with the fact on going to next year with the picks, but I'd say unless you have the 101, 102 and you're going for Caleb Williams, I think the only other dart throws I'm going for in quarterback is Daniels and McCarthy.
So,
I
just want to throw one thing in. It's pretty much a lock now that Jaden Daniels is going to go 2. I have seen
Is it a
that.
lock? Is it
Yeah,
a lock?
I mean, I think so for the most part. I've seen numerous.
Oh my goodness, that means the Patriots are going to end up with Drake May.
It
Oh
is.
my goodness, I need to
Actually,
leave. I need to get out
that
of here.
has also been rumored on Twitter. But the way I look at it is, if you look at the past couple of quarterbacks that Washington has had, they've all been, for the most part, pocket passers. I think that they're going to grow accustomed to changing the offense around to having a dual threat mobile quarterback, but I think it's going to take some time. And if you're looking to draft a quarterback in a dynasty league or just any fantasy league, I don't think that Jaden Daniels is your guy. Just due to the fact that I think it's going to take some time for them to get accustomed to that and change the offense around.
Okay. I mean, I could see it. I could see it happening. I just hope what you said with Jaden Daniels, I hope he doesn't go 2, because then I would be fine with the Patriots quarterback at 3. Going into our number 5 comes in with Michael Penix Jr. This is the consensus between all of us. And it will be the consensus for number 6 as well with the other guy. But I'll kind of wrap these two together in one. Michael Penix at number 5, and then also at number 6, Bo Nix. And I mean, it's again like the Drake May situation with the Jaden Daniels. It's the who do you rather have, Michael Penix or Bo Nix? Michael Penix or Bo Nix? And that's for people to determine. All of us, though, we had Michael Penix over Bo Nix.
Yeah, I mean, it's much of a muchness if you want it between these two guys. I think it's like what Gary was saying. I don't exactly want a lot of these guys. Michael Penix, I think he looks okay, but I think what I took out of it, his footwork was never that clean. He wasn't that great moving around. Bo Nix, I mean, a lot of guys saying they think he has, starting, caliber. I'm not sure about that. I think he needs to sit for a while. These two guys, they don't excite me. I don't know about you guys, but yeah, it's not two guys I'm rushing out to try and watch when they get a team.
Yeah, I'll be completely honest. The only reason why I, as a person, like Michael Penix Jr. over Bo Nix is just due to the fact that Penix beat him both times. They had pretty similar teams, and Penix just played better both times and showed up to actually play for both those games. Besides that, I think you could go really either way. I don't like either of these quarterbacks, like you said. But if I had to pick, I would rather have Penix.
All right. Yeah. I mean, it's been the consensus for all three of us for the past couple weeks saying that Penix is over Bo Nix. But again, rumors has it right now today, I think, that Michael Penix is being hosted by the Minnesota Vikings, I do believe. So unless the Vikings don't move up to number 2, number 3, whatever, they could be seeing Michael Penix be a Minnesota Viking. So that'll be huge.
Nah, they can have him.
Going into number 7, it's Spencer Rattler. Keith and I both have Spencer Rattler at 7. Gary, you have him at 8. I think it's kind of, we're getting now down to the later part of the QBs where it's kind of just a dart throw at this point. But I do want to mention Spencer Rattler. He was projected to be the number 1 overall pick a couple years ago when he first went to college. I mean, he was supposed to be this great quarterback, and he just hasn't earned up to the hype that people have had with him. I had a lot of hype for him at first, but again, with injuries and everything that's been going on with him, it just hasn't looked right.
This was actually going to be my question for Gary, since he's the college expert, really. Because I was going to say, wasn't it not a couple of years ago, Spencer Rattler was all the talk of the town, and what's happened? I know you said injuries there, Fernando, but is he just not, lived up to the hype?
Yeah, no, he was a guy, and he certainly hasn't lived up to the hype. I forgot exactly who it was that he got benched for. He got benched, and then he just hit the transfer portal, went over to South Carolina. The thing that I do like about Spencer Rattler is that he actually shows up in big games. But that could also be his problem, is the fact that he's very inconsistent. He doesn't play the same every game whatsoever, or even close to it. He's going to have a game where he'll give you 200 yards, 2 picks, and a touchdown. Or when he plays against Tennessee and Alabama, he'll give you 450 yards and 5 touchdowns. I like the fact that he shows up in the big games. It's just his inconsistency as a starter. That's my issue. But yeah, he was the guy, and he didn't live up to the hype, and he just transferred out.
Yeah, I think personally, I think I wouldn't be surprised if Rattler gets drafted to a really good team, and he's almost like the bench player, just like what the Eagles did with Carson Wentz and Jalen Hurts. Carson Wentz was really good at the time, but Jalen Hurts just ended up taking the job afterwards because of injury and hasn't looked back since. I think this could be a Spencer Rattler type of move for a franchise organization who is a good team, because we know Rattler has so much potential. He just hasn't lived up to the hype. Going in at number 8 is Jordan Travis. I have him at number 8. Keith has him at 9. And then, Gary, you have him at 7. I kind of want to – I don't know too much about Jordan Travis, but I know he isn't a bad quarterback. But I'm curious to know more Gary's side of things on why you have Jordan Travis over Spencer Rattler.
Yeah, and I think it's just based off of the consistency aspect, because Jordan Travis is way more consistent than Spencer Rattler. They're two alike quarterbacks, but I think that's just the breaking point for me. I think Jordan Travis is going to deliver more times than not in terms of or compared to Spencer Rattler. Granted, Jordan Travis did have a much better team around him than Spencer Rattler did, but I just liked what I saw out of Jordan Travis last year more than I saw out of Spencer Rattler. Unfortunate that he messed up his ankle or leg, whatever it was. It probably cost FSU a playoff spot, but he was still good.
Yeah, to me, he looked like a guy that could be. He looked like be a guy like that would be good in a few years. I mean, I thought he wasn't as powerful. He has a funky follow through, like the way he throws the ball. But like if a good coach got to him, I think he could be a prospect. Whether he starts, in next 2-3 years, I'm not sure, but he could be a good guy to sit behind a top quarterback and learn.
Yeah. Coming in at number 9, Michael Pratt. I have him at 9. Gary has him at 10, and Keith has him at 8. I think Pratt is really just going to be another backup quarterback in the NFL. I don't really see much potential in Pratt, but I think there is possibility that Pratt could have potential. Just as of right now, he just, again, one of those backups that we're going to see.
Yeah, I thought he was a smaller dude, but he looked very clean and like his kind of basics, fundamentals, which that's why I kind of like him. But yeah, he kind of has all the hallmarks as just a backup that goes in, and maybe if he takes his chance. But I didn't see a whole lot wrong with what he did. I just think he's kind of average and at that level. You know what I mean? I didn't really see anything too bad about him.
This is the kid from Tulane, right? Is that what it is?
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know a lot about him, but I'm sure he's probably the big reason why they were ranked for a majority of the year. I didn't really watch a lot of film on him or a lot of Tulane games, but he's probably down here for a reason, and I'm not really expecting anything out of him.
Going into the final one of our top 10 rookie quarterbacks, Joe Milton comes in at number 10. Keith was the only one that didn't have Milton in the top 10. Keith, do you just not like Milton?
No, it was between Milton and Hartman. And I actually Notre Dame played in Ireland, so I got to see him play. And I actually don't think he's that bad. He was with Wake Forest and then transferred over. Actually, his decision making is really good. But like he's outside the pocket, he's like terrible. Like he'll nearly fall over his own feet. But I thought he was pretty accurate, pretty good deep ball thrower, limited power maybe, on really long passes. But I didn't mind what I seen now. And Milton, I know he's got a cannon of an arm. That guy can throw. But I just seen more Hartman, so I kind of just went with him there. Just one of those picking it too.
Yeah, I don't hate that. I just don't like Hartman because of his age, and who really knows where that'll lead to. But I think Joe Milton is the better prospect, and I think he deserves to be in the top 10. Like Keith had said, he's got a cannon of an arm. Played with some of the best at Tennessee. They were ranked number 1 at one time, and who knows? I think, but I think in terms of prospect, he deserves to be in the top 10 at this position.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think I was also debating whether or not to maybe move Milton up, maybe even to number 8 above Michael Pratt and Jordan Travis, because I think this is a guy, he's going to be a day 3 pick, but he could be another Brock Purdy type of quarterback where he needs a little bit of development. And if he can get the little development and try to fix a little bit what he needs, this guy can really be a really good quarterback. He just needs to, like Keith said, work on the outside of the pocket. So going into this is also a guy that could go to the Jets too, in my opinion. Aaron Rodgers, he's going to be there for another year or two. I mean, Milton, you take a look at Milton, and I mean, Milton could easily go there and learn from one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And I mean, right on cue, Brennan saying perfect pick for the Jets to stash behind Rodgers.
Did you just copy what he said?
No, I didn't even see the comment. I just looked. I saw the comment bubble go on, and I was like, oh, let me look at it. Yeah, I think it's a good pick for Aaron Rodgers to have Aaron. But again, is Aaron Rodgers going to teach Joe Milton? That's the question.
Right.
I know he didn't want to teach Jordan Love, but hey, who knows? Going quickly to our running backs now. Top 10 rookie running backs at number 1 comes in at Jonathan Brooks. I don't have him at 1, and neither does Gary. We both have him at 2. Jonathan Brooks at number 1 for Keith. Keith, you like Brooks out of all these running backs in the draft?
Yeah, I think he had it's a small sample size because he got the ACL injury, right? But I think the speed, the agility, the strength, he just looked like he could be a ready-made running back that could start in the team. When I was kind of going through a lot of them, I wasn't sure. I think a lot of them would be nice, adds to a start running back, but someone that can come in and take the workload now. Obviously, he's got to bounce back from the ACL, but most this day and age, that's kind of like the trendy injury. Everybody's getting it, and they all kind of bounce back well. So, yeah, I think he's ready to go if he's good from the ACL.
Yeah, he's really good, really quick, really powerful. I completely agree. If it wasn't for him coming off the ACL injury, I'd probably have him at 1 as well. I just think that, that could be a minor setback, but he is a really, really good player. And yeah, I think it could be just the Texas ties, but I think he reminds me a lot of Bijan Robinson, and see what we can do.
He does kind of hit of a Bijan Robinson type of player. I'm just not all in on Brooks. And we've seen past years where running backs who are projected to go number 1 aren't number 1. I mean, that don't actually get drafted number 1. One of the biggest examples is Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I mean, he was the first running back off the board, went to Kansas City, all the hype in the world, and look what he is. So I think Jonathan Brooks could be another type of guy who could fall out and drop in the round. But I think he should be a day 2 pick, no doubt about it. But yeah, Brooks has a lot of potential. But like we all said, these runnings, we're all over the place with these running back rankings because of the fact that I think it's just tough to really say who is the top dog in this running back class. I'm concerned on drafting one in the dynasties, personally, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'd be waiting for late rounds in dynasties to see who's there. I don't think I'd be trying to trade up for one of these guys.
No.
Yeah, I agree.
Going into number 2, Trey Benson. He comes in at 2 overall, but for Gary, you have him at 1. Keith, you have him at 4, and I have him the lowest at number 6. I'll start with Keith on Trey Benson. He comes in at 2. Thoughts?
I liked what I seen, except his patience. He really did not want to wait for the gaps to open. He needs to learn that. That's what I took out of it. I thought he had the size. Thought he looked, when he gets going, he's very good. But there was a few clips I was watching, and I was like, just wait. And then he didn't, and it was take the wrong option. And that was doing it for me. Whereas, he could have made life a hell of a lot easier for himself if he just had a bit more patience. And it just seems like he does it time and time again. Probably something a coach can get to him, but it was just something that was kind of bugging me and kind of something I picked up on every kind of little clip I seen.
Yeah, I'm actually glad you mentioned that because the number one reason why I had him up here was I was going to say, which goes hand in hand, just contradict each other. He hits the hole really hard and is really explosive. His patience is an issue, but when he does hit the hole, he's gone. He's very fast, very, very powerful runner. I like him a lot. He was in a good environment at FSU, and normally when he got the ball, he produced pretty well. So.
Yeah, I'm just concerned on him. I think he didn't he battle an injury one year? If I'm correct, he battled a couple injuries when he was in Oregon and then transferred.
Yeah, I
I
remember.
can't fully remember off the top of my head, but I just dropped him a lot because of the fact that I don't know if he is really going to be. I think he's going to be a starter, but will he be a valuable starter? I mean, he could be a Clyde Edwards-Helaire type of starter where he just doesn't end up being like the guy that we want him to be, a Sony Michel type of guy. And that's my concern with Trey Benson. But again, the high upside is what Gary says. I mean, this guy could be a really good running back in the NFL. It's just the moment of what is he going to come into in the NFL? Is he going to come into a Sony Michel type of guy, or is he going to come into, I don't know, like a Josh Jacobs type of guy? And that's the big concern for me, and that's why I have him down so much. Going into our third one, Jalen Wright. Jalen Wright, Gary, you have Wright all the way down at number 9. Keith, you have him at 2. I have him at 1. Gary, I want to know, why in the world do you have this guy at number 9?
Because I don't really think we saw enough of him. I'm a big stat guy. I don't quite recall what he had, but I know I was actually looking at some of the prospects for this draft like a couple weeks ago, and I think I saw, stats don't tell the whole story, but I think he only had like 800 yards and 4 or 5 touchdowns. Like, I just don't think that's enough of a sample size to say that he's like the best or one of the best running backs coming into this draft. If we're looking at prospects, stats don't really matter a lot, but I don't know. I just think that there's a reason why we're not seeing too much of him.
I think his age is gone from as well. He's 21, right? He's super young, so low mileage, which is a big deal for running back these days. I liked what he did. I thought he was a good blocker as well, from what I've seen. He kind of vision issues, like way to go and stuff like that. I felt like that could improve, but I kind of liked what I've seen, and definitely the low mileage put him up there for me.
So I am at number 1 because I think he is one of the most improved college running backs. He consistently improved every single year when he was in Tennessee, and obviously he's declaring 1 year early. He could have went back for his senior year, but he had a 1,000-yard rushing season this past season. One of the biggest concerns I have with him is he has way too many fumbles back in 2022. He cleaned it up a little bit in 2023, but it's something that you got to watch for because NFL teams are not going to, they will have you on a short leash if you consistently fumble. And I think if you can figure out a way to not fumble, I think this guy could be one of the best running backs in this year's draft. It's my take.
Big call. But I suppose maybe a big call, but if you compare it to you and Gary, it is a big call. So someone's either going to be very right or someone's going to be very wrong there.
Yeah, exactly. Coming in at number 4 is Marshall Lloyd. Lloyd, I have him at 3. Keith, you have him at 3. And Gary, you have him at 8. So again, another big difference between us and Gary. Keith, I'll start with you.
I just kind of like, I think he has less wear and tear than other guys. He definitely has the caliber to be a starting running back. I don't know whether he will be. I think he needs to develop a bit more. Some of the stuff is kind of flashy, but he's kind of on point, good agility, good bursts. I did like the small sample size I watched of him. So that's kind of why I have him there.
Yeah, I don't really necessarily have a problem with Marshawn Lloyd. Coming out of USC, again, we don't really have a large sample size, but he's good for sure. I just don't really know a lot about him. I'll be completely honest. So I think that's why. Where did I have him? I don't even remember.
You had him at 8, all the way down to 8.
Yeah, that's probably why. I don't know too much about him. But I watched a lot of college ball, so I know he was okay.
Yeah, I have. We both have him at 3, Keith, and the reason why I put him at 3 is because he's a good pass catching running back, and that's a big thing in the NFL. They want to see that pass catching running back. Can you be a 3 down back? And I think Lloyd can fit that. And I think that's why he, in my opinion, still was over Trey Benson, in my opinion. So, sorry, Gary.
All right.
Going in at number 5, Blake Corum. Corum comes in for me at 5, Keith at 5, and then Gary at 4. So, Gary, you have a little bit more love in Corum than we do.
Well, that's for sure not true because he's from Michigan. But he was the best back in the nation. He was, and if it wasn't him, it was his teammate Donovan Edwards, or But I think that it's disrespectful to put him anywhere less than 4 or 5, just due to how good he was in college. Of course, his age is a problem. I think he stayed there 4 or 5 years, so that's going to be the biggest thing. I don't know what NFL team's other issue would be with him because he was just a complete beast at Michigan. And that's really all I got to say. I mean, he carved us up every time we played him. So
he had a heavy workload there, right, though, at Michigan?
Yeah, he was getting 20 to 25 carries a game for the most part. So
then he got a few injuries. Well, he got a meniscus tear as well, didn't he? I think so.
Yes. Yep. He also had, so he did in his 4 seasons, the last 2 seasons in Michigan, he had 1,463 yards and 1,245 yards. And he did have his career high in touchdowns this past season, 27 touchdowns. So, but he wasn't a big pass catcher. And I think that's the biggest problem. And can he be a 3 down back is the question.
I really struggled ranking him. I kind of wanted to go higher, but I just couldn't. Like, to me, he just suits like the Bills where they bring in Latavius Murray on a 3rd down and just try and plow through everyone and get a touchdown. I mean, I think that's where he would suit him the best, especially if he, did have a few injury issues. I'm not saying he can't be a guy that goes in as a workhorse horse role. I think he can. I just don't know where he fits in and what team he fits in with. Mm-hmm. That's kind of where I am with him.
Coming in at 6 is Braylon Allen. Allen for me comes in at 4. For Keith, you come in at 7, and then for Gary, you come in at 5. So we're kind of all over the place with Braylon Allen.
Yeah, this guy for me was like, he's good size, but the vision and kind of the explosiveness right out of the blocks, I didn't see any of that when I looked at him. Maybe I've just watching the wrong tape, to be honest. Because it's hard to get a lot of tape from these guys when you're Googling YouTube, but he has the size. I think he has the power, but I just did not see it straight off the block. I think it takes some time to get going, and that's why I had him down lower than you guys.
I actually love Braylon Allen. He was the bright spot at Wisconsin. I think that anybody could have him in this position ranked as high as 3rd. I mean, he's really good. I honestly love everything that I saw from him. But yeah, I really don't have any complaints with him. Like I said, you could put him as high as 3. I wouldn't go any lower than where I have him at 5 or 6, wherever it may be. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he comes in with his height and weight being 6'1", 235 pounds. That is, he's a bulky running back, but not the fact that he's also a tall running back. So he's going to be able to have good vision, and he's going to be able to break out of tackles, and that's a big one. Trying to get those yards after carry or yards after, you know what I'm talking about, yards after touch, and that's going to be a big thing. Can he be that guy? And I like him too, and like Gary said, you could have him at 3, and I don't think anyone would be complaining about Allen. Coming in at number 7 is Audric Esteem. Esteem for me comes in at 7, for Keith comes in at 8, and Gary, you have him all the way up at 6.
Yeah. Another guy that I really like. He honestly reminds me of Braylon Allen. I think that he checks off most of the boxes. Um, I think his vision is my biggest problem, but I really love what he does after the rush. Makes a lot of guys miss, and he's a good strong back. So
Here's one for you, Gary. Right. So I was watching him and I didn't see much. I thought he was actually good. I didn't
mhm.
see much. Like, didn't think he was brilliant, but didn't see a whole lot wrong. And then two guys, completely different things. I was watching and reading, compared him to Jamal Williams, and I'm going, that's fine, a nice, decent NFL player, but I don't know if I want to be a Jamal Williams in this either. Like, you, you'll have a career, but you're not going to be great. Like, do you see that? You know what I mean?
Um, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say Jamal Williams, but I would agree that like in the sense that he's a strong, powerful runner. That's probably what he would be used for. I understand the play style, but I don't know if that's like who I would say his NFL comparison is. And yeah, I wouldn't want to be a Jamal Williams type player either, despite him leading the league in touchdowns when he was in Detroit. But yeah, I wouldn't I wouldn't go that far.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, Esteem, I feel like this is a guy who can be a good NFL running back. I mean, like you mentioned, Keith, with the comparison Jamal Williams, this guy has a potential to be a good running back, in my opinion.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, I don't agree with, or don't disagree with what Gary said or you. I was just kind of like going, there has somebody that knows better than me. I think thinks there's something up if you're comparing him to Jamal Williams. And like I said, it was on two different things that I seen it. So that's where I was kind of going, that's kind of odd.
yeah, coming in at number 8 is Will Shipley. Shipley for me comes in at 8 as well. For Gary, you have him all the way up at 3, and Keith, you have him all the way down at 10. So another wide range. But I think the big thing is, and I think Gary's going to have a lot of love talked about him.
I'm
But I
interested
think
in Gary,
Shipley,
what Gary's take on this is.
yeah, I am too. But I think Shipley, if I'm correct, was just like another Spencer Rattler. Wasn't he supposed to be one of the best running backs coming into the college scenery, and then be the next great thing in the NFL?
Yeah, he was. I don't remember exactly how high he was ranked, but the reason why I love him is if you watch, I'm not sure how much or what exactly tape you guys watched, but I believe Will Shipley is coming out of Clemson as a junior. If I'm incorrect, I'm incorrect, but I think he was there for 3 years. He came in as a freshman and was excellent, and he even did better
Lights out.
his next year. That's what I love about him. I think that his flash and his potential is there. He wasn't near the same player that he was this year, but Clemson was trash, and I think that when you're looking at an NFL prospect, you want the characteristics of an NFL prospect. And I think that Will Shipley has those characteristics. I mean, clearly we saw it in at least his first 2 years. That's just what I like about him. I think that he's an NFL ready running back. He was really good, and I know he had a down year this year, but his team wasn't great at all. So who knows?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I think.
Go ahead, Fernando. There you go.
No, I was just gonna say the only concern I have with Shipley is his weight. He only comes in at 206, and we talked about last year with Devon Achane whether or not he can produce in the NFL because he didn't have much weight on him. I think if Shipley added 5 to 10 pounds, I think that's going to make a huge difference in the NFL for him, and I think he could be a really good running back. But again, like you mentioned, Gary, first and second year, lights out. He was amazing. Supposed to be the next great thing. I think I see why you put him at 3 because there's so much potential still with Shipley.
Yeah, Keith, I'm just gonna cut you off for 1 second. Sorry. I like that you mentioned Devon Achane because we see the speed that he has, and I think it's exactly what we see with Will Shipley. Will Shipley is lightning fast, and when he's gone, he's gone. He's got that home run speed, and I think that's what a lot of teams are going to be looking for, on top of him being a pass catcher. So that's just what I like.
Yeah, I'm on the same boat with you, Fernando. It was the size that really did it. Like I went against. I don't think he's breaking any tackles anytime soon, but he is very quick. He would. The best I thought he would suit was a team that needs a pass catcher and be a nice fit. So he could, end up with a really good team that someone just wants to add, a pass catcher to their ranks. But yeah, I just thought size was a big issue, especially in this day and age in the NFL.
Yeah, currently, his player comparison that they have is Myles Gaskin.
No thanks.
Which is not a really good comparison that I've seen. But anyways, going to our final two guys, Ray Davis comes in at number 9. Keith, you have him all the way up at 6. Gary, you have Davis at 10, and I have him also right around the 9 mark. Curious to hear your takes on Davis and whether or not will he be another good running back, or is he just going to be another one of those? I mean, he had a good 40 time, 4.52. I think for fantasy purposes, I think he's going to be an RB2 type of player where he's going to be behind someone and then maybe get the potential. But he also has a good conversation of possibly being a 3-down back guy. And that's going to be the big thing on whether or not we're going to see him do good in the NFL.
Yeah, the big thing negative, I didn't think he's that quick, but his vision was good. He's elusive. He can hit the hole hard, but it's after that he's not gonna run away from DBs all day long. But I don't think he can really train to be faster. I thought his other fundamentals were really solid. That's why I kind of have him at mid-table. I'm guessing you guys probably see different.
No, I agree. I think his speed was my biggest problem, and I don't necessarily have a problem with Ray Davis at all. He was good at Kentucky, put up some good numbers. But yeah, I think it was his speed was really my issue. I would like to see what he does though in the NFL because I've seen some good tape of his.
Yeah. Coming in at the final one, number 10 is Bucky Irving. I actually don't even have him inside the top 10. Keith, you have Irving at 9, and Gary, you have Irving at 7. So I want to hear your takes before I'll throw in my Bucky Irving take.
I seen him as just a pass catcher. There was not a whole lot I really liked. The guy if we're talking about speed, the guy to me didn't look fast at all. What I seen. Kind of packs a punch. He's a heavier dude though. He doesn't. I don't think he necessarily looks it, but I think he was 192 pounds or something like that. That's big enough. But he just kind of modeled to me as a pass catcher, and that was kind of it.
Yeah, I'm not upset with that. What I like is you said he's not quick, which is true, but at his size, he's pretty agile, and that's what I think was what I liked a lot about Bucky Irving, and I think that is really what you need as a pass catcher. I watched him a lot at Oregon, and I loved what I saw. So I don't think if you have him ranked a few spots lower or higher, I really wouldn't have a problem.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. I mean, I have him I think at 11 or 12, and the reason why is because I put this guy named Frank Gore Jr. at number 10.
This is going to be your guide. The minute I was like, Frank Gore's going in somewhere, and it has to be 10 because I don't know where else you'd put him. And you were on about Frank Gore beforehand, so that's why I'm kind of like, you're definitely putting him somewhere.
His dad said that people can't overlook him. I think we got to listen to him, right? No. Obviously, he's the dad, so he's just trying to hype his son up. But Frank Gore, here's the issue. This guy, his height and weight is just not there. Because he's 5'8", he's my height, and he's 201. So I could basically be the next Frank Gore Jr. It's not a good outlook in the NFL. He's probably going to go late round. He's got to work on just everything for the most part. But again, we've seen a lot of things with a lot of these late running backs being all over the place. I mean, Will Shipley, for example. Gary, you had him at 3. We had him all the way down at late top 10. And that's the thing. These running backs are just so all over the place that I think we won't have – well, we're going to have final rankings, post rankings after the draft. Those shows will be coming up. But I think it's just the fact that we don't know where they're going to be. How good are they going to be in fantasy? What are the potentials for these running backs? We just know based on their college stats. But you go into a running back needy team – Will Shipley's the number one running back week 1 for, I don't know, a team that needs a running back. Who is it? Cincinnati? They don't have Joe Mixon anymore. Boom, you're all hyped with Shipley. He climbs up boards. He'll climb up my board. But that's the issue, and that's the issue. All these running backs, there's so much potential to where they land.
I'll let Gary have a crack at Frank Gore because I got nothing on Frank Gore.
Oh, Frank Gore, it's just, yeah, you said it. His frame isn't great, and he got a heavy workload at Southern Miss. Is that where he goes, I think?
Ole Miss, yeah. Southern Miss, yes.
I think it's Southern Miss, yeah. So
Yes.
that's what I just don't like, that he's such a small guy and a ridiculous amount of work. I don't think that's gonna be the same in the NFL whatsoever. He honestly might get tossed around at that size. So we'll see what happens. It would be cool to see him take after his dad, though, because Frank Gore is one of my favorite running backs ever. So
yeah,
We got a lot of father and son combos coming out this year, don't we? Rice, Harrison, and then McCaffrey. McCaffrey's dad was a tight end. I didn't get anybody. I remember going, oh yeah, didn't really know that because everybody goes on about Twitter, but it's a lot of them combos coming out this year. So hopefully it all works out for a few of them. So it would be cool to see.
Hey, just remember Frank Gore Jr. He might be useful. He
Right.
might be useful in fantasy.
right.
But that's going to do it here for another show here on Sports Time HQ. I was joined by my great co-host, Keith. You can follow him all over social media at SwampDonkey_90. And you can go check out Gary all over social media at Gary.Dombeck. If you haven't done so already, go to Sports Time HQ. Go on Underdog Fantasy. Use that code Sports Time HQ. They'll match your first deposit up to $100. And make sure to go on TrophySmack.com/SportsTimeHQ to get some trophies, rings, or a belt. Again, Gary and I, we got second place in cornhole, but overall in fantasy, he might get the toilet trophy in fantasy football this year. Who knows? But once again, be sure to follow us all over social media. And next week, we'll be back here talking about the top 10 rookie wide receivers and tight ends. Same time, same place. We'll see you all next week.